What's the worst side effect of trauma you've ever seen? I thought I'd never hear my son speak again after the accident that killed his father. It had been 4 months since Emmanuel watched his dad's pickup truck get hit by a drunk driver at the intersection near our house. 4 months since my 16-year-old son had said a single word. The doctors called it selective mutism, brought on by trauma. I called it my kid shutting down completely because his best friend was gone. Emmanuel wouldn't get in any car or bus or anything with wheels. He walked the 3 miles to school every morning, even when it rained. He'd come home soaked and shivering, but still wouldn't let me drive him. At night, I'd hear him playing his dad's old guitar, but never singing like they used to do together. Then the Russells moved in next door. Their daughter Nadia was 15 and the exact opposite of Emmanuel. She had this wild curly hair that bounced when she walked and wore these ridiculous colorful socks that went up to her knees. She talked to everyone, including the mailman and the stray cats in our neighborhood. The first time she knocked on our door, I almost didn't answer, but she kept knocking and calling out, "Hello, neighbor friends," in this sing-song voice until I gave up. She stood there with a plate of cookies that looked half burnt and asked if my son was home. She'd seen him walking home from school and wanted to know if he wanted to hang out. I tried to explain about Emmanuel without really explaining. Just said he was going through something and wasn't very social right now. Nadia just shrugged and said she'd wait. I figured that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. The next day I was cleaning the kitchen when my phone buzzed with a notification from our Ring camera. There was Nadia sitting on our front step with her backpack and what looked like a portable gaming system. She was just sitting there waiting. When Emmanuel came walking up the driveway, he stopped dead when he saw her. She jumped up and started talking a mile a minute about how she was new and didn't know anyone and saw that he went to the same school and thought maybe they could be friends. Emmanuel just stood there frozen. Then she said something about the new zombie game that just came out and asked if he'd played it yet. Emmanuel shook his head slowly. "Want to try it?" she asked, holding up her gaming device. I watched my son actually consider it. Then he nodded just once and sat down next to her on the step. They played for an hour without Emmanuel saying anything, but Nadia talked enough for both of them. When she finally had to go home for dinner, she said, "Same time tomorrow?" And Emmanuel nodded again. It became their routine. Every day, Nadia would wait on our step, and every day, Emmanuel would sit with her. She brought different games and snacks, and sometimes her guitar. She never pushed him to talk, just filled the silence with her own chatter about school and her old town and how her mom couldn't cook to save her life. After a few weeks, Emmanuel started laughing. Just small sounds at first when Nadia would do impressions of their teachers or tell jokes that were so bad they were funny. But it was more than I'd heard from him in months. Sometimes I'd peek out the window and see him actually smiling while she rambled on about whatever crossed her mind. She got him to teach her guitar, which was huge, because he hadn't touched his dad's guitar around anyone since the accident. She was terrible at it, but enthusiastic. She kept telling him he should sing because he played so well. "You're a natural," she'd say. "Bet you have an amazing voice hiding in there." They started communicating through writing. Emmanuel kept a whiteboard and markers by the door, and they'd pass notes back and forth. Sometimes Nadia would leave him letters in our mailbox about their plans for the future, how they'd start a band or travel to Japan or open a restaurant that only served breakfast food. 6 months after they met, I woke up to sirens. Ambulances and police cars lined up outside the Russells' house, red and blue lights flashing through my bedroom window. I ran outside in my pajamas to find Mrs. Russell sobbing on her lawn. A hit-and-run driver had struck Nadia while she was walking to the corner store. She didn't make it. Emmanuel saw everything from his window. He locked himself in his room and wouldn't come out for 3 days, not even for Nadia's funeral at first. But an hour before it started, he put on his father's old suit and grabbed the guitar. The service was beautiful and horrible. People shared stories about Nadia's kindness and her laugh and how she made friends with everyone. When the minister asked if anyone else wanted to speak before they closed the casket, there was silence. Then I heard footsteps. Emmanuel walked to the front with his guitar. He sat in the chair they'd placed for speakers and adjusted the microphone. Everyone waited to see if he'd finally talk. Instead, he started playing, and then he sang. His voice was rough from months of not using it, but he sang this beautiful song about sunshine and friendship and finding light in dark places. I think he wrote it himself. Tears ran down his face while he played, but he didn't stop until the last note rang out in that quiet church. It took time, but Emmanuel started talking again after that. First, just to me, then gradually to others. He went to therapy and joined a music program at school. Now he plays at open mics around town and wants to study music therapy in college to help other kids who've lost their voices.